Now, the 718 Cayman GTS is one of the most appealing sports cars on the market. It's not as shouty as the GT4, but it goes about its business much more elegantly, and it still gives you, especially if you opt for this spec, a 4-litre naturally aspirated flat 6 engine. And for that reason, you should buy one. I'm Max Attavani. Welcome to Driven Plus. In the middle of the car sits a 4-litre naturally aspirated flat 6 engine, producing 395 horsepower and 420 newton meters of torque. And yes, it is the same engine you find in the GT4. Now, there's a way to distinguish the 718 Cayman GTS with the 4-litre as opposed to the 2.5, and that's the way the exhausts are sat. As you can see on this one, they're separated, where on the GTS 2.5 they are together. Now, driver, can we please turn the engine on and let's hear it? Ooh, nice. Let's give it a rev. Okay, let's put it in sport mode. Try again. Sounds sweet. Now, Porsche say this has a top speed of 179 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 4 seconds flat. Let's find out. So it's time to launch the 718 GTS 4-litre from 0 to 60. On your screen now are the stats and figures on this car. So if you want to divulge into them, pause your screen. So this car does have launch control, traction control off. Hold your foot on the brake. It'll hold it at 6,000 or 5,000. Let's go. Oh, that's good. 4 seconds flat. That's really impressive. Really, really impressive. It just delivered it really smoothly then. No traction issues, does the business. Let's go for run number 2. Here we go. A little bug then. 4.1 seconds. Still really impressive. There we go, back to the review. Here's the reason to buy a Cayman over a 911, and its practicality. As you can see here, plenty of space in the front, probably good enough for 2 carry-on hand luggages, but there's more. You see, because this car is mid-engined, it gives you some space in the rear. Look at this. You don't get that in a 911, so if you've got an annoying girlfriend who wants space and said, well, I want practicality for my suitcases, buy a Cayman. So on the interior, although it's a mid-engine sports car, when you're in it, it doesn't feel small. It's actually quite a bit of space in here, which is what I like. You know, it's quite, there's more space than what you think there is. Now, coming onto the steering wheel here, now, I love the Alcantara finish. It's nice and thin, lovely to hold, and I love these metal paddles there. They feel premium. And on there, you've got your sport. So if we turn the ignition on, you can choose what, sport, sport plus, or individual, or normal. And the fact that that bit in the middle gives you a sport response for 20 seconds, so you're overtaking a car, which is handy. In there, you've got your speedometer on the left side and that big rev gauge going all the way to 9,000 in the middle, which is what we like to see. On the right, you've got all your map and all your different fuel gauges as well. Now, on the inside, you've got a nice screen there, and I like all the buttons going on. Everything is easily accessible. There's not too much going on here, but that's what I like about it. It's simple. For me, suits my personality. There's not too much gimmicks and gadgets. All your exhaust buttons and spoilers and traction control and suspension is in the middle where you need it as well. And in the middle there, you've got your little smoker's pack there. Armrest here, not a bad size, big enough for a brush, so the owner can brush his hair. And in here we've got the GTS embroidered on the headrest, which is lovely. Now, you can get these with the carbon bucket seats, but I think the comfort seats for a 4-litre GTS is better, because I see it more of a tourer or long distance driving car as opposed to your GT4, which I think should come with the bucket seats. Now, on the inside here, this hasn't been spec'd with the GTS pack on the interior, which misses something like the carbon fibre touches, but I've been sat in here and I haven't thought to myself, it's missing all that, because Porsche finish as standard is just second to none. Driven Plus is more than just YouTube car reviews. We do European tours and UK tours, and you can book on and explore places like here. And even places like here, jaw-dropping mountain passes. And places like here, Monaco. So if you'd like to join us on a trip of a lifetime, head over to our website now to book on your next adventure. But for now, let's get back to the video. Now, one thing I can honestly say is that I've never heard anyone say anything bad about the Cayman. I just think the recipe for this GTS is just right. Mid-engine layout with a flat six engine, which sounds something like this. Is, in other words, awesome. Now, this GTS comes with the PDK gearbox, which is an optional extra, and it's a 7-speed dual clutch, which works perfectly fine. Downshifts are really engaged and upshifts are really crisp, like any PDK. It's brilliant. Now, these do come standard with a manual gearbox, and I have to say, I do think that is the better option, talking in terms of engagement point of view. However, if you're going to be using this on a day-to-day basis, or you're going to be taking it around Europe, then the PDK is better. And okay, yeah, the GT4, it looks awesome with its different bumpers and spoilers, but I'd still consider this GTS alongside the GT4 because you're still getting the same 4-litre engine. Okay, the GT4 has slightly more horsepower and it revs slightly higher. Only difference is mainly the suspension, so it's going to boil down to how often you want to track your car, and of course what you want your car to look like. And for my situation, the GTS makes more sense than the GT4 because it's more comfortable and therefore it's better for going long distances, i.e. European road tripping. But of course I can understand the pull towards a Porsche GT car. What if though, hear me out here Porsche, what if you made a GT4 Touring? It wouldn't be far away from this, same engine, okay, it would look different from the outside. You did it with the 911 GT3 Touring. I think that would have been a popular car, but this isn't far from that. The thing I like about the GTS though is that we're cruising at 42 miles per hour on a country lane, and say for instance you want to hear it, you want to bring the car alive and you want to hear the flat six engine, all you have to do is bring the paddles down, no, the gears down via the paddles up to its rev range, and it makes a beautiful noise. It's more reserved than GT4. You can't hear the engine as much when compared to that car, but it still does sound awesome. You can't beat the noise of a flat six engine, especially right behind you there. And for me, it's the way it delivers the power as well. Obviously, it being naturally aspirated, you really can pretty much use all of its power. It loves to rev high, and that's when it gets your blood boiling. And it's sad to know that most likely this Cayman will be the last ever to feature, well, maybe even an engine, but definitely a naturally aspirated one. Yeah, that's sad. And compared to the 911, I think the driving position is much more engaging. I think it's just the way you sit is very direct, very driver focused, which is what I like. And the fact that the engine is right there behind you, not in the back of the car. So tell me, why do you need a 911? Well, actually, I'll tell you why you buy a 911. It's to stop 911 owners coming up to you and asking you, well, why didn't you buy a 911 then? It's to stop them. It's to stop those people asking you, because they drive awesome. Caymans are awesome. And they're definitely not a poor man's 911, because they drive awesome, and especially with this GTS flat six engine, they sound awesome too. And Porsche really is the benchmark when you come to sports cars. No one really does it any better. And other manufacturers may be good, but at the end of the day, they're always going to get compared to a Porsche, and they're never going to be any better, which tells you everything you really need to know. When you review a Porsche though, you don't really compare it against its competitors. You compare it against its predecessor. That's how good they are. Vice versa though, say I'm reviewing a Lotus or an Alpine, I'll compare it against a Porsche, because I'm trying to justify to you why you should buy one over a Porsche. Now, I'm a big fan of the Alpine A110, and I've not long tested that car, and I love those cars, they're amazing. Now, when we compare that car to this, the Alpine is very much about the weight, how it naturally feels about the engine, and they're a very punchy car. But when we come to this, it's a very different experience. It's more refined. The GTS is more about the engine, flat six, it's definitely got Porsche credentials. But when you buy a Porsche, you're not just buying a sports car, you're buying a lifestyle, and you're buying into the badge, and it's what experiences you get from it. But I'd like to say a massive thanks to John for letting me get a review on this beautiful GTS today. So thank you very much, mate. I hope you enjoyed this review at home. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel for more of this content, and we'll see you soon. Thank you guys, and goodbye.